just realized that I'm competing with LeVar Burton and Brent Spiner next door, so we got to be really loud to drown them out. They're very chatty.
Are they?
Yeah, they are. No, I love those guys. They're like, well, one of them, anyway.
Oh, one of them? Oh.
Not so much.
Ooh.
It's all good. It's like, enough was a character called JB from Digimon. He's in season 4. And he's this
little guy, he had a smaller voice, he was a young boy, and he was sort of overweight and insecure and bullied. And that's who I was growing up. I was JP. I looked like him. I probably spoke like him. I don't remember now because I've had this voice since I was 13. But I was very insecure and I was bullied, and I related to him, and it was actually sort of a cathartic thing for me to perform a character like that when normally I'm doing these giant creature, horrible villain type things, and all of a sudden I'm playing this character and doing my own therapy. So that was an amazing experience for me to walk through that and have to experience all those emotions again. So I remember at that age how painful that was. And a lot of us express that, especially at conventions. A lot of us have been bullied, for our passion of loving this stuff that's outside of the norm. And so it was a great opportunity for me to actually heal some of this. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you. You were expecting Spike, weren't you? Not that cool.
When you were coming about Toonami, what was the production like, and kind of, what was it? Sorry, I kind of blinked for a second. When you were coming to make it happen, what was the idea behind it? Like doing all the anime and stuff for it. What was the idea behind it, I should say?
Well, none of that was up to me. I'm just a voice monkey. So, fortunately, they hired me to be the voice for the character. But everything was written long before I walked into that booth. The guys at the time was Sean Akins, who was the original creator of the show, and Jason DeMarco, who is still in charge of the whole operation with Gil Austin. Those guys had this vision for it. They're huge anime nerds, and they're big gamers, and they wanted to bring anime to a bigger audience. And in those days, it was really tough for a lot of American fans to accept dubbed anime. It was the dubbers versus the subbers. I had my life threatened in the early days. They thought I was ruining the art form. Oh yeah. Yeah, they were literally saying I was ruining the art form of anime.
You're safe here with us now.
Yeah, it's all good now. No, it was scary at conventions in the old days. But I thought, wow, this is amazing that these guys are doing this. I didn't know much about it, honestly. When they contacted me, they were fans of Bebop or something I'd been working on at the time, and they said, well, would you be interested in hosting the show? I went, what, really, me? You have the right guy here. And I had never done anything like that before. And so we sat down, we had a beer, and they told me what the show was about. And I said, yeah, I want to do that. That sounds amazing. And the odd thing was that I recorded all of it in Los Angeles. They're based in Atlanta, and we did it over the phone from the recording studio. And so a lot of the people that are involved in Toonami, I didn't meet until a year ago. And I've been working with them for 15 years, something like that. But a lot of the editors are still there, a lot of the writers are still there. Jason and Gil were there from the very beginning, and as are a lot of those people. So the passion behind that team at Toonami has never changed through all these years. They're all still exactly the same crazy fans that they were back in the day. And going to the studios, I went and visited the studios a couple times now in Atlanta, and they have more action figures than I do. The president of Adult Swim has an office full of action figures. It's awesome. But it's still an amazing thing. I still record every week for them, but now I do it from my home studio. So it's really nice. I just do it over the phone with them. They trust me to do that and send them the files. But they write everything. I have a little bit of input. I might deliver a line a little bit differently because I'm so familiar with Tom now. But everything is pretty much written out, including all the video game reviews. I'm not a gamer, so I trust them. These guys, I know that they're playing the games because I can hear them on the phone sometimes, and they're directing me to direct their attention back to the session when they're directing me. And also all the inspirational speeches, they write those too, and they do all the editing over there. So literally, it's just my job not to screw it up. They know they're very clear about how they want Toonami to be. So, and I'm very grateful to them for having me on board, and to you guys for bringing Toonami back on the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, give yourselves a hand.
You guys.
Thank you. Only Toonami on Adult Swim.
Yeah,
Did you
baby.
just mention that you collect action figures? Is that what you
I
just
collect
mentioned?
action figures? Oh, yeah.
Do you collect yourself?
Yes. That's really weird when you put it that way, but yes.
Yeah.
No, every time I have a new action figure that comes out, and I usually hear about it from you guys because I don't pay attention, I will try to get it. I'll run to the store and get it, and it's fun. I have shelves and shelves and shelves of them. I actually had to buy a whole new shelving unit so to fit them. It's ridiculous now. I have boxes of them upstairs in my attic. I built a recording studio. I still don't have enough room for them in there. But yeah, it's kind of become an obsession. Firewood?
Yeah, hey, how did you first get started voice acting for anime, and how did you initially feel about the whole like Eastern cartoons and like all like anime as a whole? Like,
But it's not the path that I would recommend to anybody. It was really hard. There are a lot easier. Well, I don't know if it's easier to do it now, but at least there's a lot more information out there now on a better path.
all right, thank you.
Thank you. Hi. It's okay. It's just us.
What's your most favorite role that you voiced personally and your least favorite?
Oh. It's so, the favorite question is always very difficult for me to answer. They're all like personality, and I always say it's like choosing children. If you have a bunch of them, which one is your favorite? You know, Mom, which one's your favorite? They choose. Right, different ones on different days. Exactly. So it's a different answer every day. Today it's you. No, I'm kidding. It's a different answer every day. Honestly, they're really different parts of my personality. Sometimes I want to be nasty. Sometimes I want to be sweet. You know, so it just depends on my mood. It depends on how bad traffic is in Los Angeles half the time. One of my probably the biggest benchmark character of my career would be Spike from Bebop, just because so many other things led to that. Megas XLR led to that.
Yeah.
And I found out Legend of Korra led to that. The guys were fans of that. Toonami, so many of these other shows came because of Bebop. And also, 17 years later, now I am, my partner in life is Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, who was the director of that show at the time, and played Julia in the show. And we've been friends for all these years, and all of a sudden, both of us are single and available, and we got together as friends. The universe threw us together, and we went, oh, I like you. So we're together as a couple now, so that's the show that keeps on giving.
Yay.
So I would have to say it's my favorite show right now.
It's a really good answer. Good answer.
And having love and stuff, so that's cool. Least favorite, I don't really have a least favorite, because you know, even if I'm Soldier A that gets bumped off in 3 minutes, I still invest everything I can into that character in that time. So I don't really have a least favorite show. The only exception I would make to that is that I was asked to work on a secret project once called Project X. That's all they told me. And I walked in the room and they told me I was going to be playing a creature with tentacles. That's all they said. And so, because there are kids in the room, I won't go any farther with that. But when I found out what the subject matter of the thing was, 10 minutes into recording, I went, oh, I don't want to do that. So here's your money back, and thank you. And I walked out. And so it's just not for me. I have kids, and you know, I don't want them exposed to that stuff. And they try to watch. Now they try to watch stuff that I work on. Back then they didn't care, but I knew someday they would. And I didn't want them to see me doing that kind of stuff. So thank you.
Hello, my friend. Toto Megatron, we had this conversation. It's supposed to be secret. I'm supposed to be doing his dishes right now.
Oh, God.
Speaking as someone who is practicing voice acting on the side, how are you able to do multiple emotions when you're doing a speaking voice that isn't your traditional voice? Like if you're speaking lower or higher or just something weird, how do you get the wide range of emotions?
It's called acting, my friend. That is the definition of acting. Pretending somebody you're not and being able to convey all of those emotions. That's what acting training teaches you, which I didn't know for a very long time. I just sort of did it automatically. I can't help it. It's like a disease for me. You know, when I was a little kid, I'd be sitting in the sandbox and pick up a plastic toy and give it a voice and start having a conversation with it, you know. And then later, who knew? People would pay me for it later on. But that really is
that's the job, is really to be able to do that in whatever voice you create. So if you choose a voice, if you're going into voice acting, and say you can do some weird voice, make sure that you can cover that entire range of emotion and sustain it for 4 hours at a time before you even audition for it. Because otherwise, if you get that job, you go into that booth and they say, all right, now you're being chainsawed in half, what does that sound like? And you go, oh, I didn't practice that. Make sure you practice that.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So for any voice, you need to know what it would sound like while you're getting chainsawed apart.
Pretty much every voice you do, you have to be able to be chainsawed in half, yes.
Good to know.
I don't get a chance to watch any anime, honestly. I've barely watched my own. I think I've seen maybe 3 or 4 of my own shows. I've never even seen Naruto. You know, it's terrible. Or Rurouni Kenshin. I've talked to so many people here who are Kenshin fans. I've never seen the show. Of the ones I've seen, I would have to say Bebop, probably. And Digimon holds a special place in my heart, especially season 3.
With Guillemon. I love Guillemon. He was innocent and sweet and said, got Guillemon bread?
Yeah, that was really fun. We put a lot of love into that show, so. I'd love to watch more, I just don't have time. I mean, I don't even watch the shows that I'm announcing on Toonami. I'm such a bad fan. So I come here to, for you guys to tell me what I do for a living. What's your favorite?
Fairy tale.
Fairy tale. I've heard very good things about that. No? Oh,
Someone shaking their head.
I'm seeing heads going like this.
All right, fairy tale fans, raise your hand. All right. Fairy tale non-fans, raise your hand.
That's awesome.
It's like this side of the room is like yes, and this side said no.
Isn't that great? Because we're in America and we can love whatever we want.
Yeah, absolutely.
America.
Awesome, thank you.
Hey Steve. It's like growing up, you and Chris Sabat were my 2 favorite voice actors, and pretty much still are. I just wondered if you had any advice you could give to somebody trying to break into the voice acting industry.
Yes, go to iwanttobeavoiceactor.com. Literally, it's a website written by T. Bradley Baker. It's the most comprehensive masterclass you will ever take on voiceover, and it's absolutely free. So I recommend you go there first and read everything he's got to say, follow the links. He even has vocal exercises in there. He's got connections on how you can find acting classes, casting information. There's all sorts of stuff. It's very comprehensive, and none of that was available when I was coming up through the industry. The personal piece of advice I would give you is if you are planning to go into voice acting or any kind of entertainment, do it because you love it, not because you want to get rich or famous, because chances are neither of those will happen. Even if you do, if you don't love it, it doesn't matter. You have to love it first. And then the other piece of advice I would give you is that the audition is the job. If you are auditioning 100 times before you get a job, be grateful that you get to audition 100 times, because some people don't. And put everything that you have into that audition. And then if you get the job, it's just a happy surprise. Try to forget about it after you do it and let it go.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
2 things. One, thank you very much.
You don't mind
I
holding
really
this?
appreciate your voice acting and some of
I'm
the
live right now.
Yeah, that's very great detail. And my question is more of a smaller question, if it's possible. Can you do Roger Smith's big old Showtime one last time?
Yes, I can. I'm going to do it without the microphone because it's really loud.
Big O! Showtime!
Thank you.
I was very awesome. They're working out now and breaking buildings coming out of the ground. Ed, how you doing?
We talked about it briefly yesterday, but I wanted you to elaborate a little bit more. Could you tell us more about the Performance Matters movement?
Yes, Performance Matters. This is a union issue. I'm a union member. SAG-AFTRA is our union. And we had to go on strike. Last week. And we were in negotiations for 19 months to get a new interactive contract. This is for video games only. And we were not getting any movement after 19 months, and we were asking for some very reasonable things, like health and safety issues, vocal stress, so that we're not screaming constantly for 4 hours, for performance capture, when people are suspended from the ceiling by wires and being held by an intern rather than by a stunt coordinator. Those those kinds of issues were the most important things for me. There's a financial component in that also that's based on sales. So if they sell 2 million units, we get a little reward for that. And to my mind, that's a fair thing to ask for. So those are the kinds of things that we've been asking for over a year and a half. And they've just said no all the way across. So we started doing a hashtag campaign called Performance Matters online. And we were just asking for fan support. If they care about vocal performances in games, we just wanted them to sound off and let them know. Because in the negotiations, their lead negotiator actually looked at a room full of professional voice actors, looked us in the eye and said, "You guys don't matter. You really don't matter. We can replace you."
What?
And you know, there's 100,000 other people in the union that can do what you do just as well. And not everybody's a voice actor. You know, there's like maybe 250 people that do most of that work that have been doing it for their whole career. And to be slighted like that was just offensive to us. And the same guy who said that to us stood up immediately after the meeting was over and stuck his hand out and to Phil Lamar, who's one of the greatest voice actors and on-camera actors I know, and a dear friend. And he goes, "Dude, I'm a big fan of yours. Would you like to go to lunch sometime?" After he just insulted us like that. So that's the reasons we're doing this, because there's just no respect at all. And so it's about respect and integrity more than anything else. And it's a contract that hasn't been renegotiated in 20 years. And I care about the new voice actors that are coming in. I kind of make my own deal now, so a lot of what we're asking for, it doesn't really affect me. I only do screening sessions for 2 hours at a time. But there are so many voice actors out there, hundreds of them, that have to go in there and do whatever the directors tell them to do. And if they're told to scream for 4 hours, they'll scream for 4 hours until they're bleeding from the throat and require surgery, and sometimes don't recover from that. So we have to stand up. So I'm sorry to take up time talking about that, but that is an important issue too.
What can we do to help? You said there's a hashtag?
Well, yeah, we tweet about it every day. There's a lot of us, there's a lot of voice actors that you guys know and love who are part of this campaign, and we're constantly updating information. There's a lot of misinformation out there. So on my Twitter feed, you'll see me tweeting almost every day about it, and we just tag with the hashtag Performance Matters. And so if you guys, are compelled to say something, then great. If you're not, if it doesn't matter to you, that's fine too. But if these voices, if the voices that we provide for these characters make a difference to you, and if you think that we're not replaceable for this type of work, that helps if we can sound off and let them know that. So thank you so much for bringing that up. Appreciate it. Hate to talk business at these
No,
things.
it's fine. We have about 5 minutes left, so if we want to try to, I know, it's going way too quickly.
Okay.
I was wondering, what do you feel are your most unknown voiceovers?
Oh, that's a great question. You're Carl with a K, right? There is, wow, there's so many unknown things that I've done. There is a book, oh my goodness, I'm having a brain fart right now. It's a children's book, it's an audio book, I'll think of it hopefully before the end of this conversation, where I had to play an entire landscape made out of human feces. And it was an audiobook, and they just wanted a character, this creature that basically took all of the evil of the earth, all of the bad feelings and anger and everything else, and it just sort of turned into this kind of a gross, mucky area that they had to travel through. And they wanted to know what that would sound like, so he was actually a really friendly guy. He was a really, really friendly guy. So that's probably the most obscure thing. Oh, I can't believe it. I can't remember the name of it. It was something in the Seven Skies. I cannot remember it. I'll think of it.
Tweet it out to us later so we can check it out.
Yeah, I'll think about it later. But this character was so weird. I mean, it was literally an entire landscape made of bubbling poop. And so that was probably the most obscure thing I ever did.
This has been a panel full of visuals. Thank
Right?
you so
I
much.
know. Yeah, you get to carry that home with you.
Can't wait.
Steve told me what poop sounds like. Yay! We all learned something today.
Thanks, Carl.
Do you want to try to rapid fire through the rest?
Yeah, we'll rapid fire. All right, fire away.
Fire away. Okay. Yes, sir. All right. So I'm from Toonami Squad.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, cool. So I since the trailer
got to work in the same room with Sonny. For those of you who don't know, Sonny Strait was the original Tom. He was Tom 1. And then I sort of came in and took over once he was eaten. Great voice actor. He's a comedian. He's an amazing guy. I've never met him in person. So he recorded wherever he lives. I'm not even sure where he lives. Maybe Dallas, yeah. Yeah, and I recorded in Los Angeles, and they just mixed our voices together in the intruder character.
And we actually talked to him last year.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That was our first interview.
He's a good dude. He's a really good dude.
It was a hard interview, actually.
Nice. Yeah, I'd like to meet him someday.
That'd be cool.
We can arrange it. Who knows?
Okay, sweet. Thank you, man.
Good seeing you again.
Nice to see you. Hi, how are you?
Thank you.
So I'm a fan since I was voice acting.
The people. Coming here and hearing your stories, you guys have changed my life, honestly. I've heard so many great stories, families like this that are doing such great work out there. I mean, these girls are, they're spreading a message of love. I don't get to see that necessarily working in an enclosed booth in Los Angeles. I like getting out into the world, and I like hearing the stories and looking into people's eyes and hearing about what this stuff means to you guys. It makes me want to be better at it. So honestly, that is the main motivating factor for me to stay in this business. And the people that I work with too, because we all love what we do, and we're all one big, weird, dysfunctional family.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Hi.
I've been a big fan since I was little, like Digimon, Cowboy Bebop, all of it to like video games now. I really support movement, strike, and everything.
Thank you.
But I just wanted to ask, I'm like a big fan of Barack Obama and all that. But
Thanks, Shepard.
but yeah, so do you typically get a full script, or do you typically get like just your part and kind of like how do you, I guess, discover the character? Or like,
It's different for every project. Something like Mass Effect, they gave me a pile of paper this high, and they said, all right, we've got 4 hours to knock out, whatever, 1,200 lines, go. And, I just relied on my director, who at that time was Jenny McSwain, and she was just amazing. She just kept guiding me gently through this so that I would stay in context. She's holding the context for us. I rely on my director very heavily for most of these things. On some shows like Star Wars Rebels, we'll actually get the entire script a couple nights before so we can go through it. We have an idea of where the show is going. Dave Filoni actually comes in the room and talks about the show and gives us the next arc that's happening, as much information as he's willing to give us, but just so we sort of know what to do with these characters. These characters are very real to all of us, and we take it really seriously. So when we have that opportunity, we'd love to have that information, but it's not often. And in anime, we never have it. In anime, we walk into the room, they throw a script in front of us and say, go. So,
well, thank you.
thank you. Hi.
Hi. Oh, wow.
The voice sounds different through a microphone, doesn't it? Welcome to my world. In a world where your voice changes.
So what is it like for you? I know you said that you usually only watch about 4% of the shows you record, but when you, or not percent, but when you say when you see those shows and advertisements or on TV, what is it like for you when you hear your voice speaking from those characters? Is it like, wow, I actually said that like months ago, and now I'm hearing it on TV. Is it really surreal for you?
Yeah, at first it was really hard for me to hear my own voice. I hated the sound of my own voice. And also, when we're recording, they'll take multiple versions of each line. We have to record different versions of each line because we don't know how it's going to work with the context of the other characters, especially if they're not in the same room. So sometimes I'll see a cartoon that comes on and I'll go, oh, that's the worst take I did. That really stunk. I wish I could go back in and re-record that. So I had to let that go. That was really hard in the beginning. Now I just try to accept it for what it is and forget that it's me recording it. And because I'm getting older, I think too, sometimes I literally forget that it was me. And I'll watch shows and I'll go, oh, that sounded like, oh, that was me. I'm pretty good. Sometimes it's that reaction. Sometimes it's like, oh, that sucked. Oh. But you can't be too hard on yourself. You have to just kind of let it go.
That's good.
Yeah, but you get used to it, just like you did just now. It feels better already, right?
Yeah.
See? There you go. We all learned something today. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you.
All right, our final question.
All right. Hi.
when did you feel you really got recognized by the fans when doing voice work?
Oh man, I can't really put my finger on a time that I felt like I was recognizable by the fans necessarily, but I think when it really dawned on me that I was a voice actor, I was actually doing a panel years ago. It was probably 4 or 5 years after Cowboy Bebop came out, and I was sitting on a panel with Mary Elizabeth, my girlfriend, Cowboy Bebop, and I was talking about voice acting, or somebody asked what it was like to be an actor, and I said, well, I'm not an actor, these guys are, because they were classically trained, and I was talking about the other people on the panel, because my training was so different. And she goes, whoa, 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 hold on. She goes, I don't mean to interrupt you, but what do you think you've been doing all these years? And I went, oh, so I'm an actor now. Oh, I didn't know what to call it before. Okay, got it. And then the fans, went crazy in the room. The other moment that really solidified it for me was, I think it was in 2012, I was at Anime Expo in Los Angeles, and I was doing a panel. There were about 2,000 people in the audience, and my parents had never seen a show I had voiced until that time. But I said, this is a big thing. It's in Los Angeles where we live. I want you guys to come to this panel and just see what I do. And they said, all right. And they really didn't want it. They don't like crowds. So I sent a nice car for them. They come to this panel. They sit down, and they're in this crowd next to my sister. And my dad leans over to my sister, and he goes, they're all here to see him. Yeah, Dad, just shut up and watch. And I come out on stage and everybody roars. It was a really, really great audience. I showed this video reel of all the stuff that I'd done. Everybody was really excited. It was really noisy in the room. And afterwards, my dad comes up to me and he goes, you're kind of famous, aren't you? And I said, Dad, this is what I've been doing all these years. This is what I've been trying to tell you. And he goes, all right, I'm going to stop bothering you about a backup plan now. It looks like you're doing okay. So that was sort of the defining moment for me when my parents accepted that what I'm doing is a viable profession. My dad was a doctor, he's a retired physician. He just could not imagine that you could make a living farting into a microphone.
Well, now you can just voice a doctor.
Exactly, I play him on TV, it's fantastic. So that was the big defining moment for me. And then, again, hearing the stories, the one other thing, and I know that we're running late on time, but the one story that I heard from a fan where I felt like what I was doing mattered happened in New Zealand years ago. I've told the story many times, but there was this big dude, he looked like a Samoan guy, who came up to my signing table, and he said that his autistic son, who at the time was 8 years old, was nonverbal to the point when he was 8 years old, he was sitting rock in the corner, and one day he bolted to the couch, and his attention focused on the TV, and the dad asked him what he was doing, and the boy looked over at him and he goes, shh. And it was the first response like that the boy had ever had to a question. And he just sat there and he watched him watching TV and he didn't know what was going on. And at the end of the program, at the commercial actually, the little boy looked over at him in perfect English and said, I like that, Daddy. And he had been forming these words and thoughts in his head for 8 years and not had a vehicle to speak them until he connected with Digimon and my character Guilmon specifically. And it unlocked something in his brain to the point where the family started watching it every day with him, and he started speaking perfect English with them. He started expressing his thoughts and feelings. And he became part of a community. His father got him involved in anime groups. The next day, he brought the little boy, who was now 12 years old at the time, to my signing line. And I saw like 20 people back, and I ran down there. I just stopped the line, I ran down there, and I stood with this giant man all tatted up, and this boy and his wife and his sister, and we hugged and cried for about 10 minutes because I felt like, oh my God, something I'm doing actually makes a difference to somebody out there. And that was the defining moment that I thought, okay, I'm doing something of value in the world, and it changed my life. And that's my primary focus for coming to conventions, is to have experiences like that with you guys. So thank you guys for filling up my heart.
Thank you. Keep it going for Blum, everybody.
The best host in the whole world, I think I'm going to say a few words at the show.
I gotta sit here and listen. Are you going to your table now for signing?
No, I got to get on a plane and go back to LA.
Okay, well,
I'm so
thank you
sorry.
for joining us here this weekend.
Yeah,
Really
thank you for having me.
appreciate it.
And I'll be back in December for Holiday Matsuri
Oh, great.
in Orlando. Yeah, so if we didn't get a chance to talk here, we'll do it then.
Perfect.
Love you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you
All right,
guys.
take care. Peace.